Hi guys and welcome back to Sheddy's Kitchen. I'm Sheddy. Today we are looking at making a dessert. Now the dessert we're making is actually a traditional classic and it's called Halwa. Normally Halwa is made with semolina, but we are adding our own twist onto this, a dish that is one of my favourites. It is a classic recipe that my mum makes and I've remembered my mum making it for years, but it uses pumpkin right in time for Halloween. So are you ready? Let's get cooking. For this recipe, you're going to need 2 medium-sized pumpkins, and we've got this pumpkin directly from a pumpkin picking farm, so it's nice and organic. I'm going to just quickly show you how to cut that pumpkin, and I've got one that we'd cut earlier, and here you go. So this is how we want it cut. So when you do cut the 2 pumpkins, the total weight you'll be adding will be 850 grams for the recipe, and you can cut them into little chunks like this over here. You'll need 200 grams of sugar, and if you find that the recipe isn't sweet enough, you can just add more sugar later on, and you can taste that throughout when you're actually cooking this. You'll need 250 grams of slightly salted butter. Now make sure that it has salt in it, so don't go for the unsalted version because that won't taste as nice in the recipe. You need some green cardamom pods, and we use 4 of these when in the recipe. They're known as lachi as well. So we normally break these up, so if you break 4 pods up and then you'll use them pods directly in the recipe as well. And finally, you need some crushed almonds, and in this case over here, it doesn't matter about the weight or how much you need, you just need some for sprinkling on the recipe at the end so the dish looks nice. So you're going to need quite a large pan for this. As you can see, we've added the pumpkin, that was 850 grams in total, and it comes right near the top. Don't panic too much about this because we are planning on reducing this down. It will actually soften as we cook it on the stove. What I also want to just mention over here is in terms of the cleaning of the pumpkin, make sure that all the seeds are scraped out directly from the pumpkin itself. You can see we've cleaned that down, and we've also removed all the innards, so you're left with a hard part of the pumpkin, and that's what we'll be using in this case. So we're going to go ahead and begin cooking that. So the first process is relatively straightforward. You need to make sure that the gas is on to a full heat, and I'll just do that now. Okay, so we've got that on high heat, and at this point we're going to add about 400 mils of water. We may need to add more water later on, but starting with 400 mils is absolutely fine. So we'll just pour that in directly. And finally, I'm just going to pop the lid onto there. And what I would do at this point is I would set the timer because we're going to come back in approximately 10 minutes time. So it's been a further 12 minutes now. So I just want to give it another mix to make sure those pieces of pumpkin that have boiled on the bottom of the pan are coming to the top. So give that a bit more of a mix and make sure you pull the bottom ones right over, turn it. And you can still see that it is reducing in height now. The water is leaving the pieces of pumpkin and that water is boiling away, hopefully reducing that as we go. I'll just pop the lid back on again. And we'll leave that for a bit longer. So it's been about 50 minutes from the moment we started boiling the pumpkin with the water, and as you can see we've still got quite a lot of water in there. Now you need to be patient with this dish. Try not to remove any of that water, because this water that's being released is from the pumpkin and you want the concentration of the pumpkin to remain in there and the taste to remain in there. So we've taken the lid off now and we're going to let this carry on boiling, and we want most of the water to be gone prior to adding the next ingredient. Okay, you can see at this point now it's been an hour and 10 minutes since the start of the boiling process, and you can see the pumpkin is actually broke up really nicely. Most of the water's gone now, and so what we're going to do with this is we're going to add the sugar to it, the 200 grams of sugar that we had at the start, and as suggested before, you can actually add more if you feel it's not sweet enough for you. I reckon with 200 grams it should be absolutely fine. So we'll put that into there now and give that a real mix. Okay, that's mixed in nicely. And I'm going to just pop this onto a back heat and bring in another saucepan into picture for you. Let's just pop that onto the back. Okay, so I've popped the pumpkin onto the back now. That will boil away, reducing down further. I'm just grabbing a small saucepan now, and in this pan I'll just drop the heat very slightly. We'll drop the heat very slightly, and into this pan we need to pop our, I'll pop into it the 250 grams of the slightly salted butter. We'll just pop that in now. I'll just drop that in like that, that's fine. I've broken them into smaller pieces so that melts a tiny bit better. And I'll also pop into there, as that melting, the cardamom seeds. Now I've broken them out of 4 cardamom green pods, which I'll just drop straight into there, and we need to just let that melt down now. Keep an eye on your saucepan that's near the pumpkin, just give it a little mix as that's boiling over. It's reducing really well now. I can actually see the moisture is actually becoming quite thick in that. Okay, so you need to keep an eye on the butter as it melts, and you can see the little white dots that are towards the top, and it was quite a lot of white at the top before. You can see the white bits actually disappearing. As soon as that's all disappeared, we'll be ready to add that straight into the saucepan that contains the pumpkin. Okay, now it's time for us to add the butter directly to the pumpkin pan with this pumpkin in there. So I'm gonna just move the pan over. Let's just move this to the side and move the pan back gently on the same heat as well as before, and you want to pour that butter mixture directly into there. Now it's really important for the next step. You have to make sure you stay with the pan and you have to keep mixing. And we're going to keep doing this as the water continues to reduce down, and hopefully the pumpkin will start to break. It'll get quite mushy. You'll see it's starting to get quite mushy. That's what you're looking for over here. You need to keep mixing it. You'll smell the butter come off in it. It's absolutely a very nice smell. So just very quickly, you can see that the water has almost completely left. I've just had to put the extractor fan on because this dish, when you're actually cooking it, it's releasing a lot of steam. So you might want to do a similar thing. You might want to open a door or a window and just make sure you're letting that steam out. Otherwise you'll just end up steaming your whole kitchen up. What you need to do here is, as the water is coming to an end, you need to give it, make sure you keep stirring. But if you give it a good stir, then wait for about a minute or so, and you'll see the top surface of the halwa now bubbling, the pumpkin bubbling at the top. And whenever you see it bubbling, begin giving it a mix again. I'm just going to turn the extractor fan off now. So I think there's not as much steam. So this is just about ready now. You can see that there is almost no water. There's actually no water at all on the side over there. It's become quite dry. As you move the halwa across the bottom, it actually glides across it with no sticking whatsoever. You can see a bit of the oil, or the butter, sorry, coming off on the side of the halwa, and that means this is ready. So we're going to just turn the gas off now, and this dish is complete. Now look at that, that looks absolutely amazing. It smells divine. Time to get the seal of approval from my parents. As you can see, I've come back empty-handed, so I've got the seal of approval. To keep up to date with more of my recipes, please like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you and see you soon.